In this lesson, we're going to look at different viewport options, as well as how we select data in Rhino. The first thing we're presented with when we open Rhino is the default 4 viewports. And these are very handy since we have 3 orthographic viewports in addition to our perspective viewport. Sometimes we need to get a little closer to things and able to see what we're doing when we're modeling. In those instances, it's nice to be able to enlarge one of the viewports so that you can really see what you're doing. And how we do this is really quite simple. We just double-click the title bar of the viewport that we would like to enlarge. For instance, if I would like to look at the perspective viewport larger, I just double-click on the word perspective. And you can see that enlarges and fills our whole workspace. I can still use all of my camera commands. So if I hold down the right mouse button and move it around, you can see I can fly around in my workspace just like I can when it's in 4 views. I can hold down the shift and right mouse and pan around the scene, and I can hold down control and right mouse and zoom in and out of the scene. By default, we have the wireframe viewport in Rhino, which lets you basically just see wire outlines of all your surfaces and your curves. And it's very hard to tell which are curves and which are surfaces. One of the ways we can improve this is by changing how the objects are displayed on screen. So if we hold down this triangle here, I have a whole host of options I can choose, the most common of which is shaded. So if I just click shaded, now you can see the boxes are shaded on screen. And if I move around and rotate the camera, you can see the curves are still displayed as wires. So now it's really easy to tell which are curves and which are surfaces. Another handy command is the ghosted command. And once I select this, I can see through things. So if I'm looking at my 2 boxes like this, I can actually see through to the second box. And this can be very handy when you're placing things, or if you have internal components in these boxes that you need to fit the boxes around and work around for your design. Being able to see the ghosted view really lets you see what's happening inside the data you're creating. Anytime I want to return back to the default 4 views, I just double-click on the word perspective, and that minimizes that window, and I have all 4 views again. We also have the ability to drag these window panes and change the size of each window. So as you can see, I can drag on the perspective viewport and make that window much larger if I want to work a little bit larger in my perspective window, but yet still have my orthographic views to give me some guidance, perhaps when I'm drawing curves or something like that. There are other view options, and you can always add windows. I can select this one here, and now you can see it's added a new front view down here. And I can change that to a different view by right-clicking on the viewport box and just choosing, let's say, left from this viewport. And of course, all of my pans and zooms still work in any of these windows, even when they're not in the default configuration. Anytime I want to get back to the default configuration, I just double-click on this icon up here, and that returns my camera and my viewports back to the default settings. Let's talk about how we select objects in Rhino. For the most part, you'll select objects as you would in most other programs by using the left mouse button and clicking on any object you want to select. So if I want to select this box here, I just click on it. If I would like to add things to this selection, I can hold down the Shift key and click on as many objects as I would like to add. If I've added a wrong piece or I want to deselect something, I just hold down the Control key and then click on that object to deselect it. And I can always hold Shift and reselect it again if I need to. Another way you can select in Rhino is by dragging rectangles around things. So I'm going to zoom out of this top view just a little bit to give myself some more room. Now if I drag a rectangular box from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen, I select all the parts. I'll hit Escape to deselect. If I drag a box halfway across and let go, you can see I select these 2 parts. I didn't select these parts even though I was overlapping them, because anytime you select using the left to right rectangle, so this rectangle here, you must completely encompass any parts you want to select, like so. If you drag from right to left, you can still select things. The difference here is you don't have to drag a box around everything to select that part. I can just have my rectangle touch the box. and it selects it. So you can see I dragged a rectangle that didn't fully encompass this box, but it was still able to select it. So again, I select from the right, going to the left, and I'm pulling my rectangle to the left just far enough that it's just touching that curve and not fully covering that left rectangle. I let go, and it selects all 4 parts.